Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to part 2 of our very in-depth look in version 44 patch notes. It's a gigantic patch. Part 1 was heroes and cards and gems and an overview of the entire patch. This part 2 is now about Monolith, general gameplay changes, HUD, some other pretty interesting things. Mirrorless Action is a game and screen recorder that offers the lowest megabytes per frame, the lowest computer resource usage, and the highest FPS recording. Check the link in the video description to learn more. So, ladies and gentlemen, the very first thing we start off with is going to be controversial. So, Monolith minions are being redesigned in a two-step process. The first step, arriving in version 44 update on Wednesday, will adjust minions' critical last hit threshold. When you damage a minion below roughly 20% health, that minion will be executed and you will be rewarded with a last hit. The second step is a full redesign of minion art, highlighting different stages of damage before exposing a minion's weak center. The visual redesign will arrive in the version 44.3 update. Last hitting is not very clear in MOBAs, and we want to make it better in Paragon. These changes allow you to clearly understand when you can last hit with any hero and play less of the stand and wait game. Our goal is to let you focus on hero-to-hero combat as opposed to idly watching minion health bars. This is a huge change, and we have to go about discussing this very, very carefully. Essentially what's happening is every hero will have Call of the Week. They will have Call of the Week naturally. You simply have to basic attack a minion when below 20% health and they will be executed. Why? To be honest with you, I came from Heroes of the Storm where there is no last hitting. There are some heroes that have last hit mechanics, and to be honest, when I got moved into Paragon, I thought last hitting was the dumbest thing I have ever seen in all of video games. Why do I care about last hitting minions? I came to appreciate it, that it gave me economy, that it is a way for me to differentiate myself from other, from maybe other heroes, to another way of displaying my skill. But honestly, fundamentally, it's not fun, and ultimately not very satisfying. That is my opinion. You may have yours, but I think it's not fair to say, it would be crazy to say that's a general consensus on the mechanic of last hits. So, what is a way where we can still have last hits so that the skill ceiling is still there? You can still last hit and differentiate yourself and still have a way to get economy and good and get good farm, but makes it more clear and actually a little bit more engaging. This mechanic here is, I think, that middle ground. That middle ground between ruthless, not very fun, to be honest with you, or satisfying way of gaining gold and farming, and not having it at all. I think this is honestly the answer. You still have to basic attack a minion below 20% health. And if I was going to describe my last hitting experience to you in Paragon, I would say that my last hitting experience is mostly comprised of, not technically, but my feeling and the feeling that last hitting impresses on me and the long lasting sort of impression that I have of last hitting is that it's more annoying than anything else. The amount of times you probably missed the last hit by 1 damage. The last time you missed that last hit by a split second, which can still be the case, to be honest with you. Or just the times when a minion, your previous basic attack would have executed them, but the basic attack you're now shooting off instead hits a minion that steps in front of it. That's just frustrating. And you know what? I think, honestly, this is going to be more fun. It's going to get the same intent. You intend to execute the minion. You hit it in the last 20%. and you are rewarded. You know what? I think it's fine. Competitive players probably not going to like it, but you know what? That is a small portion of the game. Yes, balancing top down means we still have that last hit mechanic, but I think this is for the people, sort of a change that still has that high skill ceiling potential. With this all said, what are the actual numbers behind it? Minions are now executed when attacked at low health, sub 20% health. A minion's health bar will turn red when a player's next basic attack will execute that minion. The execution of this mechanic, this may be a bit much. This may be a bit much. I think players will come to learn that executing that attacking minion below 20% health will do it. Maybe turning red is a bit too much of a crux, but you know what, to be honest, that is a fun mechanic. You hit things when they turn red. That's much more fun and interactive. It's basically whack-a-mole than sitting there staring at a minion health and going, is that 20%? Is that not? Is it? Or it's the same thing now. It's just, will this basic attack hit it? Will it not? Can I see the minion health bar? How big is it? How far? Like, right? Like, that's just not fun. This, it's kind of just like whack-a-mole, but whack the red. And that's much more fun than before. He's still executing things, still executing on your intent. I kind of like it. Large white jungle minion increased max health from 980 to 1100, probably to deal with this execution mechanic. If it still works on the jungle minions, I'm not sure. Green minion buff increase in max health, again probably for the same reason, although it's a little bit weaker of a buff. That is structures. Ability damage no longer deals damage to structures. Interesting. I mean, that may help towers and structures be more tanky, which I think is honestly really, really needed. But ability damage was never much of the damage anyways. Another topic of debate here, and we're just going to have to wait and see how this actually plays out in-game, is the core. It no longer fires an AoE blast which hits all enemies. It now fires single target attacks similar to how towers and inhibitors currently work. Attacks deal 320 damage. It doesn't say if it's ability damage or basic damage. I'm assuming it's basic damage per attack, and attack speed still scales based on how many inhibitors have been destroyed. Now, if it's basic damage, maybe it is, maybe it's not, maybe it's just damage and there is no type and armor isn't affected by it, which it would say true damage, but it doesn't say true damage, so I don't know. If it is basic damage, minions after their basic armor take 256 health. I don't know. Is that really going to do anything? I mean, if it attacks a couple times a second, yeah, that's going to do something, but I'm not sure. Now, what if you're going up against your average tank? 200 damage a hit with a decent amount of basic armor. I don't know. You know, again, I'm hesitant to make a judgment because how can I possibly know how it plays out? I don't. None of us have played it, so I can't really judge it. I can express my hesitation for it. I don't know how it's going to play. Is it going to be completely useless? You know, 320 damage per attack on a hero. Again, you know, 320 damage is pretty good, like, against a carry. But, like, they kind of have a good amount of basic armor, so I don't know. Guys, I don't know how this is going to play out. I hope this doesn't make the core completely useless. Again, I'm going to have to reserve judgment. At this point, we move on to the jungle objectives and other objectives, and this is really, really cool. Black buff. Added a new black jungle camp in the off-lane jungle, which grants Hunter's Sight. Hunter's Sight has an effect that basic attacks slow movement speed of enemy heroes. Melee basic attacks give a 20% slow and ranged a 15% slow. Grants vision of enemy heroes and a large radius around you as well. Does not reveal shadow plane units, however. So people that are stealthed are not revealed, but grants vision of enemy heroes and large radius. Whether this goes through geometry, It would make sense because what's the point of granting vision if it doesn't give shadow plane units? So it must penetrate geometry, 'cause then you can see people anyway. Like, I don't know. Shares the same health and damage values as green buff minion. So basically, there's two big jungle camps now. The green buff and this black buff. Really, really cool. It's going to really help offlaners. Maybe the offlaner can get it if their lane's pushed up and they have some time to really help them maybe win a 1v1 in the safe lane or in the off lane, or 1v2. But especially going to help the jungler really gank. So depending if they're a ranged jungler somehow, or especially a melee, that's going to really help them when they gank. And I kind of like it. Adding some dynamic gameplay into the jungle, I really, really like it. This next one, Fangtooth. We have a new huge map objective to this objective here. It's called Fangtooth. Killing Fangtooth grants the entire team a stack of Mark of Fangtooth, which provides buffs based on how many stacks the team has. The first kill grants 4 power, 1,000 gold. The second kill grants 4 power, 10% out of combat movement speed. The third kill grants 4 power and plus 15% non-hero damage. And the fourth kill grants 8 power with each additional kill of Fangtooth. So that's 4, 8, 12, 16 additional power granted on the fourth kill, and then 8 every additional out of that. Absolutely crazy. Attacks apply a burn which deals 3% of current health per second as ability damage. What is this? Is this what Fangtooth does? I think that is. Fangtooth's attacks apply a burn which deals 3% of current health per second as ability damage. Basically, you know, it doesn't really matter much how healthy you are. You're going to be highly punished for going for Fangtooth. So it's definitely going to be a team objective. As for these buffs, wow, 10% out of combat movement speed on the second kill. Again, depending on when Fangtooth spawns, I hope they don't really say that you know how often it spawns, but 10% out of combat movement speed, that's pretty insane. You know, if you get the second kill, can people just not escape? Are you just forever able to win almost any engagement that's in your favor because people can't escape? Third kill are you just guaranteed prime or prime? Like, you know, or infinite farm? Like, it's really cool. It's really interesting. That 1,000 gold on the first kill, definitely a nice boost in the early game, but maybe it's not enough. I mean, it is 4,000 extra gold for your 5,000 extra gold for your team as a whole. Does that equate to an actual tangible benefit? Of course, the 4 power does, but I find it really interesting. Guys, let me know down in the comments what you guys think. The insight here is that this out of combat move speed is going to be absolutely huge in my opinion. The 15% non-hero damage may or may not be a big thing. The 1,000 gold, I don't think will be too impactful. I mean, yeah, it'll definitely be nice, but this out of combat move speed may be really broken. Fangtooth and Orb and Prime Guardian now have in-world point of interest icons to reveal whenever these objectives are alive. So visual and audio updates have also been made to increase awareness regarding these objectives. As you saw from the new HUD, there will be a little icon kind of showing when Fangtooth and Prime Guardian are up, when they're going to spawn, if they're alive or not. I kind of like that. It makes it really clear and just makes it a little bit more interactive. They've updated the names and descriptions for all carried buffs. Hunter's Sight is the black buff, grants vision of nearby enemies. Basic attacks apply movement speed slow. The Shield of Zetchin, the green buff shield that reflects damage while active and explodes. Amplification Orb is now the red buff. Echo Orb is the orange buff. Swiftness Orb and Shadow Orb. Those are quite sensible words to describe those. All buffs received polish work and updated visuals to help carried buffs stand out from one another. Greatly reduce the health regen of camps which are no longer in combat. This includes Fangtooth and Prime. The result of this is that camps will no longer heal to full shortly after leashing back to their original location, but still retain invulnerability during the retreat period and when being damaged without a hero in their combat radius. Essentially, there will be a little bit of forgiveness if you aren't going to aggro Fangtooth or Prime. They're going to stay damaged a little bit longer. So that probably what this means is that if two teams have a fight over Fangtooth or Prime and nobody damages Fangtooth or Prime and they leash back to their spawn point, probably by the time the team fight is over, I would hope that the intent is whichever team wins can then go on to Fangtooth and Prime at the same or almost the same health that it was previously. I kind of like that. It punishes you if you're going to go for or Prime or Fangtooth and the other team can contest and win. They can just go straight for Fangtooth and Prime. It was kind of silly that, you would spend so much time on Prime. The other team comes by, wins a team fight. They're low, so they can't do Prime. And then it just kind of nothing happens. Great, a team fight. Yippee, right? Like, yeah, team fight's awesome, but like no big objective occurred. I kind of really like this, and hopefully that is the change that we see. Various minor map collisions have been fixed and improvements. I've been screwed pretty hard by some collisions, and I hope that those are improved. Again, the HUD has been changed. Go read out this blog post and actually just look at the the screenshot. It'll tell you a lot. The ability buttons move to the bottom middle. The cooldown complete effect now has a loud animation when a cooldown is off. Mana costs are now displayed on screen, which is really nice. Failing to fire an ability now gives an alert for why it failed, so you can actually know why something didn't happen. For example, a movement ability when you are rooted, it'll say you are rooted or something. And level up fanfare move to bottom middle to be closer to ability, since ability points are a main reward for leveling. Makes sense. Your health bar has been moved from bottom to top of the screen. Yeah, I don't know about that, but now has a yellow danger state at 50% health. So now, yeah, it'll change color and you'll be like, oh boy, okay, I'm 50% or low. And now flashes more loudly and shakes when in critical state. That's going to be really cool. I hope it's kind of not silly, right? I hope it doesn't look silly, but if done right, that's going to be fantastic. You're going to really know when you are, in a critical state. Major game events. The objective here was to isolate the major game events states so that players understand the main score of the game. Top center is now reserved for major game events, tower, and boss camp kills. And they've added a new event, Advantage. This message is shown when one team has at least 2 or more people alive than the other team. Making things clear. It's a tough debate. Do you emphasize people's executional skill on taking advantage of advantages, or do you emphasize people's interpretive skills to know when they have an advantage? You know what? I would rather people display their skills and their game capability through actually executing at things rather than interpreting things, right? It's not fun. It's not fun to cast. It's not enjoyable. It's not satisfying when somebody just didn't realize something, right? What is fun and exciting and satisfying is seeing somebody try to execute on that. And you know what? I think that's the underlying philosophy. And I think that's why you are seeing a change to just being more transparent. Transparency enables. Transparency is a facilitator, and this is just one way of doing that. Alert feeds. Kills are now shown to the left and are now instantaneous rather than queued. This allows them to be snappier with the event. Sometimes you're like, did I get that kill? Did I not? It kind of doesn't really matter, but it would take a while for that to happen. And it's not right in the middle of your screen. It's now off to the left. So I really like that. Prime and Fangtooth now have alerts near the minimap when they are about to spawn and after they spawn. Team comms now alert near the minimap, and added or combined alerts for unspent gold, unused ability points, jungle buffs out of range, and critical health. Really, really excited to see how that looks and how that functions. Again, we're gonna have to just kind of get used to that. Floating combat text. Most status effects now show as text over the hero when applied. Improve the look and speed of damage numbers. Gold and XP earned now show as floating text. Using an ability on a tower now shows immune. And attacking a jungle minion outside of its leash range now shows move closer. Very interesting. I mean, it's just helping transparency. It really helps transparency, knowing what's going on and not kind of getting lost in interpretation. And just like, that's not what the game's about, right? The game's about doing things, not trying to interpret things, and I like that. You know, it'll just be interesting to see how that turns out. Team frames shows major status for ally and enemy players, shows core health when an inhibitor has been destroyed. These now shake when they are under attack. Shows current mark of Fangtooth stack counts. Debuff and debuff area. Buffs move to the left side of the screen where they have more room to explain what they are. Added text for the effect name and source. Added an icon for the effect source, and buffs now more clearly show stacks and durations. Overhead health bars, new art and color. They look phenomenal. Added danger critical states. Intense status effects such as stun show the duration as a bar over the health bar. The player's name is replaced by the effect name during the effect. So now you can see how long somebody's stunned for, how long somebody's slowed for, etc., etc. Enemy health bars no longer drain in reverse. This can be toggled via settings. And local players' health bar can be set over the shoulder via settings. Melee characters default over the shoulder, so it looks a little bit easier. Minion health bars, enemy health bars now turn red when they can be last hit or executed. Added options to separately set ally or enemy minion health bars to always show, never show, or show when damaged. I'm probably going to enjoy the show when damaged, or just always show, I'm not sure. Regardless of setting, targeted enemy minion's health bar always shows. That obviously makes sense. You want to know what the health bar of the minion you're showing is. Off-screen indicators. We now draw off-screen indicators for nearby enemy and allied heroes that are not on screen. Arrow changes size based on distance, so that you can see where certain enemies are or allies are that are visible, and it kind of shows. Current health is shown as a ring around the portrait. Very cool. I kind of almost don't even know what that means, but I'm really excited to see what it is. There is so many changes here. I hope you guys enjoy how in depth we're going. Added a first pass player stats panel to the bottom left that shows XP, your KDA, attributes, and several stat values. Cards on the HUD. Gems are now displayed along with the cards. Ability name is now shown for active cards with the hotkey. Expect more improvements in this area. That's really going to be really big. You can now drag and drop cards. Finally! Oh, baby, that's such a big thing. So you don't have to unequip and equip using two specific little things, and it's absolutely amazing. You can now swap card positions, so you can just kind of swap where your cards are. Added categorization to the stats. Open card shop hotkey changed to just G, as Control G really messes a lot of things up. Fix the ordering of decks in the deck selection. Inactive gems are now dimmed. The quick shop control now brings up ability upgrades and quick shop together. Interesting. Added hotkeys for control 1, 2, 3 for purchasing attributes. That's going to be huge. That changes a lot. Point of interest indicators. Added in-world point of interest indicators for Fangtooth and Prime Guardian, so you actually kind of see where they are. Draft positions have been expanded to the following: off lane, mid, support, carry, jungle, and Annie. It's just all of these improvements, just absolutely amazing. Hovering or selecting a position will highlight suggested heroes. This does not restrict your hero selection. It's going to help newer players kind of see what heroes are good where. Hero tooltips now call out suggested positions. Embigged, no idea what that is, what that means. The position buttons. Hotkey legend, add a small hotkey legend that is enabled by default. Settings, add a new HUD tab, several new options. There's definitely going to be many more options for the HUD. That's going to be really, really good, so you can customize it. Hero pages added ability videos to hero details page, so they're slowly integrating a lot of educational aspects into the actual game itself. And PC players can now hold shift to gain access to the mouse. Clicking the minimap now pings that location. PC only, PC4 version coming soon. That's a big thing. Wow, you can now click the minimap to ping for PC players. So you simply have to hold shift and ping the minimap. That is absolutely amazing. A huge change that they just kind of shove right to the bottom into miscellaneous. Holy cow, that is amazing. Here is a pretty big change, and I really, really like it. Movement speed slows no longer stack with each other. Only the greatest magnitude slow will be applied to a hero. Example, 50% slow for 1 second, 20% slow for 3 seconds. What's going to happen is, for the 1 second, they will be slowed by 50%, but then when that expires, then they'll be slowed by 20% for 3 seconds. For another 2 seconds, because the 20% slow happens for 3 seconds. That's huge, guys. It's diminishing returns, kind of. I would almost like to see diminishing returns instead of this system, as I think there has to be some benefit to doing something. There has to be some execution to an intention, but we're gonna have to see how this works. This, though, I don't agree with. Slows for backpedaling, strafing, and attacking also follow these rules. If a hero is slowed by 20% while backpedaling and a 10% slow is applied, they'll continue to be affected only by the backpedal penalty unless they begin moving forward. I simply do not agree. Why? Because there are two different categories of intent action. Do you know what I mean? One is you are choosing to do something tactical that has a trade-off. I'm going to backpedal, be facing in obviously a useful direction, because why else would I be backpedaling? Probably using my ranged attacks or abilities or something. So I have to be punished for that. There's a trade-off, and I move slower. However, when an enemy attacks me, their intention has nothing to do with my state. That has nothing to do with my chosen state for my hero. Their intent has to be executed, and I should be slowed by 30% because I'm choosing to punish myself and an enemy. They almost have nothing to do with each other. And I simply do not agree with this because of the reasons I just said. They are not relevant to each other, and it just has to be that way. I would almost prefer diminishing returns. Same with crowd control, stacks, stuff, stuns, stuff like that, or even interrupts if we actually get a proper interrupt mechanic in the game sometime. There still has to be some value for what you get from it, and eventually that value approaches zero. But I don't know. Guys, let me know down in the comments. There's two huge things here happening in the gameplay, the execute mechanic, and now this non-stacking mechanic. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think. What are your reasons for all of this? The change does not apply to movement speed boosts, however, as they will continue to stack additively, and all movement speed slows and speed boosts have been converted from flat values to comparable percentages, as they've already said. As for solo or co-op versus AI, basically they just made them much, much better. They do a lot of what you or I would do, and what top players would do, and it's just really great to see this. I really don't think that there should be any reason why AI should almost be impossible to win against. I would love for there to be a mode where it is a true accomplishment for a competitive team to win against some bots without doing arbitrary buffs like they have more health and do more damage. Just through strategic and deck selections, bots could just be almost impossible to win against because of their great strategy and execution. To the point where it's just not dumb, like they never miss an attack or something like that. But I would love to see it, and you know what? It's getting closer and closer. A lot of these changes are absolutely fantastic, and it's always been, you know, whenever I'm testing out something, usually just for fun, I'm like, okay, come on, bots, like, that's a little silly. It's getting better, and I really like that. The tutorial has had some updates. Core has been updated to the reworked core mentioned above. Minion waves now remain at 4 per wave for the entire tutorial. Remove some super minions. Basically, the tutorial needs now that there's this rework, there are some objectives. Stuff has to change. Get some tutorials, please, Epic. It's really important that you have effective onboarding. And you know what? Now is the time. I think that this is the final, I hope, or this is the final rework for a lot of things. Please get a better tutorial. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. I hope you really appreciated the in-depth look and processing of this patch notes. Please let me know down in the comments what you guys think, and it's huge. I having a hard time believe that there's so much can be done in such a short amount of time. Guys, Epic Games is working really hard at making this, you know, a particular game. It's not League of Legends, it's not Dota, it's not Smite. It's something completely different. And figuring out what that is / should just be based on success. And that success is really hard to measure for you and me. We don't have data. We don't have surveys. We don't have things. So you know what? Just stick with it. And I promise you, Paragon is going to be great. Amazon is the tried and true way of shopping for anything you need or want at the lowest prices. Support the channel at no cost to you by doing your Amazon shopping through the link in the video description. Please like this video if you like it, dislike it if you dislike it, share it with the community, and of course, guys, subscribe if you guys like this content, especially if you find it useful. Please subscribe so I can do it for you in the future. Until next time, like always, stay optimistic and positive.